Hey guys, welcome back to Small Talk, small conversations with huge impact. My name is Alec Cuenca, and before anything else, I would like to thank you guys. I just found out that the podcast, Small Talk Podcast, is now the number 3 in self-improvement in Apple Podcasts. It's now number 5 in the education charts in Apple Podcasts. It's now number 14 in the top trending podcast here in the Philippines on Spotify. And it's number 37 in the top podcast here in the Philippines on Spotify. And that is just super amazing. I cannot stress. I was trying to think of a way on how I could actually show my gratitude for you guys, but I really can't. Words are not enough to show my appreciation to each and every single one of you. And I know that a lot of you guys are actually silent listeners where you just play and download the podcast. And I can't thank you personally because I can only thank the people who are sharing the podcast, but that's totally fine. I want to take this time na rin to show my appreciation to a lot of the silent listeners out there. To all of the silent listeners out there, thank you so much for consistently supporting the podcast. If I could just get out of your earphones right now and hug you guys and thank you guys face to face, I certainly would, but I can't do that. So I just want to say I hope that you really see how important this is to me and how I appreciate you guys. So thank you guys so much. Love you guys. Now, that's kind of a perfect timing that when I saw the charts, because I was really exposed in a scenario where I had to practice the topic that we are going to talk about, and that's humility. Now, this virtue, I really believe that humility is a virtue, and this is one of the virtues that is often overlooked. Like, we think that humility is something that is reserved for godly people, for people who are religious or very kind people, too kind people. We think that humility is something reserved for the good people, the only good people. And it's something that is not usually correlated to success. But I really believe that it's one of the ingredients for you to have that fulfillment that you're looking, combined with the success that you're working towards. And I really believe that humility will keep you at that state of success. And I want to talk about humility. I really believe that this could help you guys. And what is humility? For me, humility is not something that you can see. For example, when you greet a person, when you compliment a person, you say, "Oh, you have nice hair," and they say, "Oh no, it's not. It's not that good. It's not that pretty." Humble, di ba? We usually say that expression. This one's humble, but that's not humility. No, that's not humility. When you say na pag yung mayaman na tao, and when the rich people wear plain clothes, that's a humble person. No, that's not a humble person, right? We cannot judge. Maybe they're wearing plain clothes, but they're really branded and they have a lot of sports car, and that's not necessarily bad. But if we want to understand humility and what it actually looks like, we got to understand that it's not something that you put on your face. Humility is not something that you put on your expression. Humility is not something measured by how low you think of yourself, right? We think that humility is when you think low of yourself. But it's not. Humility is not thinking less of yourself, but it's actually thinking of yourself less, right? It's not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking about yourself less. And humility, again, as I've said, cannot be measured by how many times you repulse the accomplishments, or you play down, you tone down the success that you have. That's not humility. And the only person that can actually see or know that you have humility is yourself. Like, we can always debate now, this person's humble, right? But we can never truly understand. But unless we see the true intentions that a person have, that's the only time that we can decide if it's really humble or not, right? It's so easy for people to show a face of being humble. They give to charity, they say nice words, they practice saying, no, it's not me. It's like it's God's work. It's the universe. No, I'm not that pretty. I'm not that smart. But that's not humility. Humility is accepting that you have a lot of flaws, a lot of imperfections, a lot of flaws, and just being okay with that. And the only person that could actually quantify your humility or can define that is you yourself, right? If you can be authentic with yourself and say that every single thing that I do, like when you know in yourself that despite the accomplishments that you have, that you're a human being and you still have a lot of flaws, a lot of things to work out, then you can say to yourself that you're humble, right? So humility, being humble, is not something you show off. It's not. That's like really that's really ironic, right? If you're humble, if you have humility, then you just tell it yourself. You just say that and live it that way because you believe that you're that, and you really see that you're a person with humility, right? It's not something to prove to other people. So why are we talking about humility, right? Especially in this world, it's not like humility is something that we need. Like we can see these successful people talking about the ingredients of success. You have the mindset, you work hard, basically you can do whatever you want. You can be successful in any field, any industry, in anything that you work hard for. But the thing is, it's not actually just success or reaching success is what is the only. It's not only reaching the success or having that success is what's important. It's really important for us to sustain that state of success as much as possible. And I really believe that having a sense of humility can help you with that. And so here are different reasons why humility leads to greater success. First one is that humility keeps you focused. Like we all know when a runner reaches its end goal, right? And we can see that as soon as they pass the finish line, especially if they're first or second and third place, they raise their hands, they slow down, they stop running. But the thing that I've learned is that in this life, success is continuous. Like, this is not a race, it's a marathon. Like, if we fixate ourselves that once we reach our goal, we'll be successful, the progress, our growth will slow down, right? And if we are humble to understand that there's always a next race, that there's always someone that will try to challenge this. Humility, even though you won first, second, third place, humility keeps you focused. It helps you be focused on the things that matter, right? And I'm not saying that you always should try to reach for the next thing, because eventually then you won't be happy, right? But all I'm saying is, when we think that we are successful, that's most of the time that life shows us that we're not, right? So instead of being disappointed of actually living into this false expectation that you are successful already, humility keeps you focused that you need to still grind and you still have to work to keep your success, to stay at that state of success, to keep on going, to keep the process going so that you can have your success. And that's the first reason why success leads to greater why humility leads to greater success. Humility keeps you focused. Number 2 is humility keeps you teachable. And one thing that we need to understand is it's that the successful people in this world, it's not the smartest people, it's not the wisest people, it's the most teachable people. Because those people believe that life and true success is a never-ending journey. We can see Bill Gates still reading 3-4 books a day, right? We can see the most successful people here on earth still trying to learn something new. Because when we feel or when we think that we're already, I really love this quote when they say that if you think when you think you're the smartest in the room, that means you're in the wrong room, right? Because at the time that you feel like you're smartest, you'll feel like you don't have anything more to learn. And when you have humility, you know that you have a lot to learn, even though you are successful, even though the metrics in this society label you as successful, you're so good, you're so great at what you do. If you yourself give in to the metrics of other people and allow their praises, of course, I'm not saying that, of course we're human. We love to feel appreciated. We love to feel that we're good at something, right? But most of the time, it actually just feeds our ego. It's not something that we truly want. Because if we align our values with our ego, eventually it will all crumble down at the end. It's not sustainable. Like how long, I really believe that if you live by other people's, what's the term? I think it's praises. If you live by other people's praises, you die by their rejection. If you live by other people's compliments, you die by their rejection. Right? So you cannot link your self-esteem, your identity from people who say that you're good, you're successful, your accomplishment. You are the only person who knows that. And you have to remind yourself that no matter what they say, you need to learn a lot. You have a lot to learn. And humility, practicing humility, keeps you teachable. We can learn from everyone around us, whether they're big, small, whether they're the kings, whether they're the farmers, whether they are successful or not. We can learn from the people around us. And without humility, we can never absorb the lessons that they are going to try to teach us. So that's the second thing. Humility keeps you teachable. The third thing is humility keeps you happy. And isn't that something that we're all trying to achieve? Like we're always vying for success because we feel like success will bring us happiness. But the thing that we don't see is that humility, when you embrace humility, you remind yourself, right? You are reminded that everything that you have is a blessing. Like everything, even though you might have worked hard for it, you put your blood, sweat, tears into the thing that you want, into your success. But when we are humble, we can say, or we can see and say that everything that we have is a gift. And when we do that, we appreciate every single thing around us, and that allows us to be happy because we feel like everything's a blessing and we are blessed. Because to be honest, a lot of people think, I really love this comment, this quote, "This too shall pass," and a lot of people think that you can only use that for when you're at your rock bottom, when you have a problem. Oh, this too shall pass. This too shall pass. But the truth is, you can actually apply that when you're at your top. When you're at the top, when you have success in your life, you gotta remember that quote, that this too shall pass. You could never know. Like all the things that you worked hard for, it could all be gone tomorrow. It could all be gone today. And in the blink of an eye, you can lose the most important things in your life. And you'll never know. But when you're humble, when you see that everything around you is a blessing, then right now you can be happy. Don't need to wait for something or someone or that success to make you happy. So that's the third thing. Humility keeps you happy. First, humility keeps you focused. Second, humility keeps you teachable. Third, humility keeps you happy. Right? So now that we know what humility can do for our success, how can we actually instill humility? How can we practice humility in our lives? Also, I'm giving you 3 quick tips so you could add humility in your skills, right? Like all the other skills, like speaking, like presenting, like dribbling, all these skills are something that you can learn. So when you're really self-centered person, then you can learn these stuff. It's not too late for you. You can learn how to be humble. Just need to be open about it. Okay, so here are some tips or some tricks on how you can add humility in your life. First is you gotta listen. When we speak to another person, we feel like we're having a conversation. And most of the time when we are in a conversation, we're too focused on what are we going to say? What are we going to respond? What's going on in my life? What are the things that I gotta share? And don't get me wrong, the things that you feel like you need to share, it's really important. But the moment that you realize that you can learn so much just by listening, just by closing your mouth, just try to listen to what the other person is telling you or is saying, you realize that you could miss the lessons that he or she is trying to give you when you once you decide that you just speak and speak, right? So, but if you listen, you can see that I can learn from this guy, even though I never thought that I would. Ang dami mong matututunan pag makinig ka lang talaga, right? And also, when you listen, you honor the person you're talking to, right? You show that you're interested with the other person, with the one you are talking with. And that just shows trust, and you become a more great communicator, a better leader, and just a overall better human being. When you have humility, when you listen, it shows that you're humble. Because you're not focused on yourself. You're interested in what's going on to the people around you. And in some way, when we try to listen and just be there, it's not necessary for you to solve the problems of that person, to solve the issues of that person. We just need to be there for him or her. Like, we just need to be there and listen to what they're actually trying to say. And when we do that, it builds our relationship with them, and it helps us see things from another perspective. So that's the first thing. You gotta listen. If you want to be humble, you gotta listen. Okay, the second thing that you can do to add humility to your life is to embrace your humanness. Is to admit that you're wrong. Right? No one is right all the time. And unfortunately, it's really hard for people to admit when they're wrong. But when we're humble, right? Because I really see that no matter which point of success you are in, life will always give you a brick wall that you need to run over, or that that God makes you to that God forces you to deal with. There will always be a point in your life where God will try to slow you down, to give you challenges, to test you out. And people who are successful and people who are full of themselves think that they're successful, they can do this, right? And oftentimes they really can't handle those kinds of situations because it requires another level from them. And they can never see that they need to learn more, that they need to be a better version of themselves if they can't admit that they're wrong. That's why a lot of really successful people get into depression, because when they feel like, oh, we're already successful, we have that title, we have that metric, we have the money, we have the fame, we have the power, we have all the stuff that could actually make us successful, that people can call us successful. But they forget that they're human, and every single human in this world commits mistakes. Even the successful people do. So if you can't admit that you're wrong, once you hit that spot that you don't know what you're gonna do, it's gonna be hard for you. You will go into that depression. They don't know how to handle with it because they feel like they already know what they need to know, but they don't, right? And so being humble is one way to counter that, right? When you're humble, you can admit that you're wrong. You can understand that you have a lot of things to learn. And when you're apologizing, when you show your vulnerability to the people around you, that shows that you are trusting them. That allows you to have a powerful, positive impact in the relationships around you. When you can show them a part of your vulnerability. Of course, there are people who are going to abuse that, but that's the risk that you need to take, right? As long as you're genuine, as long as you're authentic, and you show that you're human, right? If they feel they abuse that, then they feel like they're not human and they're not humble, right? Because when humble people can connect with humble people, right? And they can see that once you show your vulnerability, you are humble. So that's the second thing that you need to do. Embrace your humanness and admit that you're wrong. The last one is you gotta be grateful. You gotta understand that every single thing that is happening in your life is a gift, right? A lot of people, when I saw the charts, I was so happy. Right? I was so happy for the podcast, but not for me. I wasn't happy for myself. I was so happy because I know that seeing the podcast means that I could actually expand my audience, and I could actually expand the reach of my message. That was the thing that was really made me happy. But I can honestly I can see people who post those kinds of achievement because they feel like they did it, they made that happen, I made that happen, right? And when you see that, you feel like it's a human made thing. success is human made, right? But I really believe that if I become successful at one thing, it's because God allowed me to feel that, to be that. It's not me. A lot of you might feel like I'm giving so much value to you guys, but you don't know how much value you give to me. And so I'm really grateful to see you guys, to that every time you listen to this podcast, I'm really grateful. I'm not saying I'm humble as fuck. It's something that I'm still trying to work on myself. But when it comes to gratitude, I can see a lot of people being grateful because they feel like they deserve it. I am grateful because I know that it's not me. That there's someone out there bigger than me that just used me to help people. This is a gift. This is a blessing. This is a responsibility that I have, and at the same time, a blessing from God, from the universe, to allow these stuff to happen. This is not me. Never was. I'm still amazed. I'm really shocked when I saw my name up there, like 2 spots down from Joy Spring. Like, what the hell? Like, my a year ago version of myself wouldn't believe that this would happen. But if I focus on that path, I know that you're just looking out for yourself. But when I was trying to type or to try to make a speech about how thankful I am, I realized that this is not me. This is something greater than me. I was just a part of his plan. And so that's what I want you to understand, right? If you feel that you're achieving some kind of success in your life, it's not you. It's a part of a bigger plan created by God and by the universe. We just need to do our part. And we just gotta see that every single thing that is happening in our lives is a blessing. If you could take one thing out of this podcast episode, it's that. Every single thing is a blessing. And practice humility. Because humility will allow you to sustain your success in whatever aspect you want to achieve success. It will help you sustain that state. So please understand that everything's a blessing and humility is important. And so that is all for this episode. I hope that you learned something for today. If you do, then do not forget to share your insights on Instagram. Tag me at Small Talk Podcast. And if I repost it, you get a chance to win a Grateful t-shirt from me, all expense paid. And you just need to share your insights. Tag me on at Small Talk Podcast. And as soon as I repost it, it will be considered as a submission. And yeah, so I hope you learned something today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And that is all for this episode. 30 minutes na pala ako nagsasalita. Hindi ko napansin. Pero yeah, namiss ko to. And again, this is Alec Cuenca. This is Small Talk Podcast. Small conversations with huge impact. And I hope you guys have a great day. Peace. Bye-bye.